Go ahead, honey.
It's February 10th, 2021. Welcome to the Burst My Bubble podcast. Say hello, Mom.
Hi, Andrew.
Okay, the first topic we're going to talk about is OCD, intrusive thoughts, contamination fears. Do you have any OCD, contamination fear, intrusive thoughts? I know COVID-19 related, you have quite a few, correct?
Yeah, I believe myself and probably 75% of the population, if they didn't have OCD kind of anxiety thoughts, they do now with COVID. I mean, it's kind of made everyone ridiculously frightened, and people with underlying OCD anxiety 100 times worse because of the unknown aspects of it, I believe.
Right. I know my parents are older. You're in your 60s. And, since COVID began about a year ago now, I haven't been around my mom in person aside from socially distanced in the backyard on holidays. Me and my mom just simply don't interact in person. And some people might say that's overboard, but I mean, maybe it's not because I see, sometimes I'll go into the city or I'll go to restaurants and my mom, better safe than sorry, I suppose, right?
Yes, because, lots of people that I know are doing the same thing. It's terrible because they want to see their loved ones. But if you're out socializing, it's really hard to know because you're young and in fairly good health. So, and don't have any of the comorbidities that they're talking about in terms of causing complications with this thing. So unfortunately, people that do have underlying conditions have to isolate themselves, which is terrible. It's just terrible.
Right. And
at least get out.
I know with me, besides from, occasionally seeing friends from the psychosocial club, there was a time I wasn't seeing anybody in person when COVID began. It was just me alone in my apartment all day long, interacting with nobody. And that was just so toxic, so bad for my mental health. I don't know what's worse, living in an environment when where you're constantly like getting irritated, or just being alone all day long, daydreaming. So I think in some ways being alone, solitary is worse than being in an environment that's irritable.
Well, thank goodness you've been healthy enough and been able to still go out and about much more than the average person is doing. So with COVID, because you're young, fit, and healthy, it's terrible. People aren't even going to the doctors, or they're afraid to go to the doctors because they're afraid they'll get COVID at the doctors.
Right. So COVID is so toxic for people's mental health. Not just me. Everybody is
Everybody, you're 100% correct.
The really sad part about that is I started to make so much progress. I know the reason I got really sick and the reason I began blurring fantasy and reality was because I was bullied in my childhood. I had no friends.
Yeah. Well,
and for years I was running alone all day long from 2005 to 2011.
Okay, but this is about OCD now. So let's stick on that topic.
But I created a daydream world because I was socially isolated.
But that's what we're talking about, OCD and fears right now. That seems to be the topic that always kind of sneaks in. So let's talk about OCD and fears. So what are some?
I have this contamination fear that I'm going to step on something like maybe a hypodermic needle that a drug user put around the neighborhood, and it's going to lead to something life-changing. And I realized the fear is irrational, especially where we live, Massapequa. There aren't very many drug users, if any at all. I mean, it would be like winning the unlucky lottery. But with that
there is drug use everywhere. So that's a fallacy. There is drug use everywhere. However, hypodermic needles, drug addicts are not going to be in the middle of the street waving their syringe around. They're going to be in their home, in their basement, in the woods, So, dumpsters, you might find needles disposed of, things like that. But just being thrown out the window on the street, I mean, would be almost in a rarity in a suburban neighborhood. I mean, yeah. So the fear.
Right. I mean, I guess the fear boils down to contracting something life changing and having no friends for the rest of my life. That's the fear. And another one, when I'm driving around the neighborhood, I constantly get the fear maybe I accidentally hit somebody with my car and didn't realize it. It's irrational.
That's very common fear, believe it or not.
I'm told by my doctor it's a very common OCD fear. I realize it's irrational. I know down deep I did not hit anybody with my car, but my fear boils down to, I'm going to go to jail. I'm going to, waste even more time, no life because I'm in jail. And, I would try to say, I didn't know I hit somebody. And then they would say, no, you're going to jail.
But you did. Yeah. The irony of it is, this is the irony of it. The things that people are OCD and anxious about or have intrusive thoughts about, like, oh, I left the tea kettle on, and it's going to burn down the house, and checking the doors and the locks, and the thing that I would say 99% of the time, the thing that the person is afraid of it never comes to fruition. What happens is it keeps them a prisoner. So the irony is that the thing that you're afraid of is getting contaminated and never having any friends. Your fear of that and your avoidance is what is really truly keeping you from getting out and having friends. So that's the irony. The thing that you're afraid of isn't the thing that's going to hold you back. It's the fear of. So it's fear of fear itself. So that's an interesting point when it comes to that kind of thing. But unfortunately, OCD is not logical. It's not logical.
Right. It's not logical. I'm going to give another example of OCD contamination fears going to jail, because people like these stories. So I was, as we know, you and I do artwork together. We do art hour, right? And you enjoy art hour. I mean,
art time is fun.
So describe some of the drawings you've done.
Oh, I've done lots of different drawings about the summertime, drawings about people fantasizing about getting rich and that not being true. I've done, COVID. I've done time going by, seasons going by, being trapped in the house with all of these things going on, things like that. That's kind of what my drawings have been about.
When it comes to your drawings, the ones I like the most are the ones that give insight into your personality, the ones that tell a story. That's my personal, that's personally what I like. But I guess there's an audience for all kinds of different artwork. But I like artwork that makes you think, that expresses something in a way that evokes some kind of emotion, not just you look at it and you're like, oh, that's nice. I like something that makes you think, that invokes some kind of emotion, that doesn't leave you saying, oh, that's nice, whatever. I like something that just elicits some kind of reaction.
I think that some of the greatest works of all times have that ability to do that, whether it evokes emotion or it just makes you feel something. And whatever that is to each person, I think is unique, but it just makes you feel something. So yes, I agree. That's the best kind of artwork.
Like some of your more recent artwork, I think, I mean, at least the 4-panel drawings that you've done, I think almost have a cynical sense of humor about them. And I find that funny. I find that or sometimes they have a positive message, or I find them cute. And I think that's good. I mean, sometimes you do like sunsets, and I guess people will look at that and smile, but I like the drawings that, like, you could see inside of your mind. You could see what you were thinking. I don't know. That's just my personal preference when it comes to your artwork.
Yeah. I mean, for me, they say once you start with a canvas, and they say, or a piece of paper, and just draw, just whatever comes to your mind is the best way to see inside what you're feeling. When I started painting is a little different than drawing, a little bit different. But when I started painting, one day I came home and I had a really difficult day with, just everything. My mood was dark, really dark. And I just sat down and I took different colors and I put them on a canvas. And one of the things that sparked me was we were looking at the ocean, but I didn't do a sunny, clouds, sunshine. I did a stormy ocean, and it looked stormy and it looked angry, but that was my mood. And it's so funny that that's when I started painting, and that particular painting was my mood. It fit my mood.
Okay, so yeah, so I know a lot of our artwork I send to doctors and friends, and I post it on social media. I wonder what the professionals analyze the drawings. Because, like, for example, the ocean drawing you did, they probably were able to analyze. Wow, she was depressed or whatever,
or in a dark mood,
in a dark place. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you don't realize, but
and I didn't even know it at the time. It's just I sat down and I just started painting, and that's what came out of me.
Right.
The feeling that the ocean was dark and the clouds were moving in. That's the feeling that came out of me.
Sometimes,
yeah, go ahead.
Sometimes artwork is kind of sometimes you have to like really think, oh, what does this mean? Other times you can be just so in your face, so like, this is what
obvious. It's obvious.
It means. And I'm going to scream at you what it means.
It's like that painting, The Scream, like
by Edvin Munch. Yeah.
You look at it and it says terror. You just look at it and it's terror. That's that painting.
Right. I think much of the art. I mean, your artwork is a little bit more subtle. I think a lot of the art. I think a lot of the artwork I do, I'm like literally screaming, "This is what it means.
This is what I feel.
This is what it means. This is what I feel." There's an honesty to it. I'm like, there's no room for interpretation. This is literally what it means,
Yeah. But getting back to OCD, I think that art.
Actually, let's segue into financial dependency, because that's kind of something we're going to talk about. A lot of people are financially dependent during COVID. Like right now, I'm financially dependent on you because I have adult childhood status and the government. And I think my ticket to financial independence and freedom is artwork. Like whether it's the drawings, whether it's the videos, whether it's the acting, whether it's the comedy, whether it's the social media posts. What I need to realize is my ticket to freedom and independence is not sensational performances online. My ticket to freedom and independence is get a realistic job in the real world, whether it's a peer specialist at the Psychosocial Clubhouse, because there's no major motion picture company that's viewing me. There's no Hollywood superstar that's watching me undercover. My ticket to independence is...
Look, to me, it's like the lottery. People get lottery tickets every week. Some play the same numbers. Some are superstitious. Some, just do it hoping that they'll win and be a millionaire. Now, if you're depending on that for life's support, you're going to be homeless. So do people get a break? Can somebody see work or see you on the street? Like I told you, the guy that's on the Drew Carey show, he was working as a supermarket clerk. Somebody saw his smile. He was always smiling. He was vivacious. And they asked him if he wanted to be one of the presenters on the show of the gifts. And he does a fabulous job. And he has this charismatic way and smile. And he was just picked out of a supermarket. Can that happen? Yes, but that's not the norm. That's not, it's hard work. It takes going to like an acting school or a performance school, or it takes working in a Broadway company and maybe being the understudy or the assistant and getting a break, just like one night getting a break and somebody saying, hey, would you like to try your talent on stage, or we have a fill-in, or even being extras. Sometimes you can be seen as a performer in an extra. You're an extra on a set.
But
And
also,
some,
but also there's also, if you're talented, you're vicious, you're ferocious, you're intense, and you have the mindset, I'm going to make myself a success no matter what I'm doing, whether I'm taking an acting class in the real world, whether I'm posting on YouTube, whether I'm making a drawing. If you have the mindset, I'm going to make myself successful, nobody is going to stop me. I'm all in. I'm going to just intensely do it. I have the drive, I have the passion, I'm going to change my life. Sometimes you can get recognized no matter what you're doing.
but it might not be the recognition you're expecting. It might be recognition that you get to assist in editing of videos of artwork. It might not be that you're a performer. You know, it's sometimes you have to
Be realistic.
Be realistic, because there are, like, I do art. Do I think some of my paintings are nice? Yes. I don't have as much training. I'm learning as I go along. I have a little bit of God-given talent, which is genetic, but it takes practice and training and technique learning. And I realize that as I'm taking these courses online to learn some of the techniques with some of the mediums and different things that some of the great artists used. And it takes a lot of energy and work to perfect it. And I want it fast. I want the perfection fast. And I realize that is not going to happen if I want to create the best or one of the best paintings that can come out of me, out of my soul. I realize that I've got to be patient, and I've got to take these courses, and I've got to learn what people have learned in how you present things, and then I can practice it and get better at it.
Like that said, there are people who have different styles. I mean, there are some successful paintings that have been done in like 5 minutes. They're just ferocious. They're aggressive. They literally make a point that's just intense. That's a style you can use too, or you can use a style that I'm patient and I'm just calmly drawing something.
Right.
I think some people have, talent where they're able to patiently do it for hours, days, weeks, months, where other people are just like, I'm just going to ferociously scribble on a piece of paper.
Yeah, that's modern art, like drip painting.
Right.
That's a thing. People just drip colors, and they do different colors, and they just drip it on a canvas. To me, that looks like a big sloppy mess, but some people hang those drip paintings all over their walls.
Absolutely.
So I guess it all depends on what the market is looking for, and if you're lucky enough to, like the Scream. Now, if I look at that painting, I don't think that took years or months to do that painting. However,
I'm actually, believe it or not, if you really look at the painting, he did several drafts of it, and it actually, it's very, very, very thought out. It's deceiving. It appears deceptively simple. So you might look at the painting and think it was relatively done quickly, but no, he was probably patient with that and spent.
Water Lilies, which Monet did, he did. You think that there's only this one painting where Monet was starting to lose his sight that he did of his water lilies that he planted. And it's not. He did them over and over and over again until he perfected in his mind what the water lilies should look like. And I didn't know that. I didn't know how many times he painted those lilies.
Right.
So anyway, but getting back to finding a way, I think a lot of people mix their passion and their abilities to earn money together, so they can explore their passion as well as not starve and be homeless.
Right. So that's kind of like the problem with me. Right now, I'm financially dependent on you and the government. When you get older and you're no longer on this planet, I'm going to be in store for a rude awakening if I invest all my money in a pipe dream that I'm going to be a successful artist. What I need to do is I need to get realistic. Realize being financially dependent on you is a ticket to doom and devastation. Because basically stop, give up the daydream world and make myself a successful person in the real world, because that's just what I must do.
Everybody has to do that if they want to be in the real world. Everybody has to, you know,
I never promised you a rose garden. I never promised you the real world would be rainbows and butterflies, but it's not going to protect you from the impending doom that when your mom goes away, you're going to be in store for doom, Andrew. So I never promised you the real world would be you're a Hollywood superstar, a millionaire. I never promised you you'd be successful, you know, like Hollywood A-lister. But the truth is, the real world is where you need to live if you don't want to be in store for institutionalized living, you know?
And in truth, I truly believe, well, there are some people that want to be in a situation where they're taken care of and
Why would somebody want to be deprived of power and control unless they're severely handicapped? Why would somebody want to be deprived of power and control?
Why? There are some people that don't feel capable, really truly don't feel capable of living on their own. I know, for example, I know of a particular person that's terrified, you know, of that and wants to be in a situation where, you know, things are done for that person because they don't have the ability. So there are some people that really truly feel protected by that.
Right.
But if you're a capable human being that's able to handle life,
I know, like you said, you know, grandma was dependent on grandpa and grandpa did everything for her. It was a codependent kind of relationship. Then when grandpa passed away, grandma didn't know how to function without grandpa, correct?
Right. A lot of couples, as they get older, one spouse will do more of the, you know, the bills and the you know, the computer work, and that's very bad. It has to be, if you don't know how to handle finances and you don't know how to pay bills and car insurance and taxes, you know, you have to be both involved. That is a very, very important thing to remember. It was old fashioned where the woman, you know, she made the food and she did the wash and cleaned the house, and the husband did everything. But if the husband went away, God forbid, the woman was left devastated.
Right. So basically, the best way to be is independent, self-sufficient. You don't need anybody. The only person you need is yourself. I mean, because I mean, you need to be able to take care of yourself, be independent, make your own money, because being dependent on anybody is leading you in store for, you know, doom if that person's no longer around. You need to be able to take care of yourself, be self-sufficient.
And also have multiple ways of taking care of yourself, because as you see with the COVID, there are businesses that COVID came in and literally wiped them out because people wouldn't go to those businesses for fear of getting COVID. And I don't know how many businesses with no money coming in can pay the rent on the building, the insurance on the building, and pay for all the things that need to keep it running, the electrics, the heat. And so I would say probably in this country, by the time, if this damn thing ever ends, I think probably close to 50% of businesses are going to go under. And then what happens to those people? Do they go on unemployment? Do they, where do they work? What happens to them?
I think the problem is with the upper, extremely wealthy, the 1%, like the enormously wealthy, like the guy from Amazon, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Jack Dorsey from Twitter. These people should take their enormous wealth and give it to the struggling, like the restaurant owners, the people that are suffering.
But that's the sad thing. Human nature is the powerful want more power, the wealthy want more wealth, and they don't give. Most people do in those categories do not give. Like take a Bloomberg, for instance. We don't know what his charitable donations are, but there's nobody that could ever, with the amount of money that he has, spend that amount of money. Yes, you can leave money to your children and that's your right if you were, but I mean, if all of the billionaires and millionaires,
like to say about Elon Musk, who is one of the richest, if not the richest person in the world, it's like he chose not to end world hunger and poverty today, because with all the money he has, he could just wave his magic wand, end world hunger, end poverty. But what he chose to do is he chose to keep his money for himself. I mean, that's very
I believe sometimes people mistake. I believe. Oh shit! Hang on a second. I believe. Can you? I believe sometimes people with that much wealth or power believe, this is the way I think the human mind works. They become so perverse and almost evil in their quest for supreme status that they lose sight. They almost become delusional, that they lose sight of their humanity and mortality. And I think that they lose sight of that because they're immersed in this tremendous amount of power and wealth, that they feel that it's all encompassing and all protecting. And I think that they literally lose sight of reality, that they are vulnerable, that stuff can happen to them and they will die. Like, I truly believe that they think that they're impermeable to any kind of thing that can happen to them. The more wealth they have, the more power they have, the more or maybe they think that their legacy somehow will have them live on. I don't know exactly how they become to that point, but if you look at it over time in history, it kind of the same thing happens to individuals. It's kind of a human frailty that we have when we don't have in our lives the need to struggle, and the need, not struggle in the sense that, you're trying to put a piece of food in your mouth, but the need to struggle and strive to be better, or to be better at something that we do, or attain something. There's kind of, you either lose that will, or you get so perverse that you start branching out into areas that are no longer reality based. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I guess it does. If you don't have life experiences, I mean, I think people who've struggled empathize more with people. I mean, if you've struggled and you've overcome hardships and you get powerful, I think those people are less likely to become corrupt. But the people who've just
that have the silver spoon,
who've been rich their whole life, I don't know. I guess it all depends on the individual, because there's some people who were, get corrupted with money, that they lived a hard life, they become powerful, then they become jerks. But I think there's some people who've had, bad life experiences, and they empathize with people. And I think it all depends on the individual. I mean, there are good people and bad people in all walks of life. And some of the richest people could be some of the nicest people, and they could be the most charitable. Some of the poorest people could be some of the nastiest people. I think it's not a black and white kind of issue. Money is good, money is bad.
I just think, for example, humility and faith, and I mean, getting into religion, I don't even necessarily means religion, just being a good person, but somebody that I like and respect. He has a decent job in the world, and he's around a lot of people, gets to know a lot of people because he travels. And he was speaking at a church one day. They asked him to speak, and he was talking about the people that he's met in his life. He's met very wealthy people, very influential people with a lot of power. And then he's met very simple people. And he said, the happiest people that I meet, the truly happy people, are the ones that don't necessarily have that much, but they have this sense of peace with themselves and their life and what they've achieved. Like they're not driven to the point that they can never find happiness.
Right. I know the narrative that the poor and middle class say is money doesn't make people happy. I was having I was having an interaction with somebody who is relatively undercover, but they said the narrative that money doesn't make people happy is actually something that the poor and middle class invented. Money does make happiness, and if you're lucky enough to acquire a lot of money, it actually makes life easier. I mean obviously there's the most miserable people can have money, but money definitely helps with happiness. Money definitely makes your life situation better.
It makes money money, maybe not perverse amounts of money, but money, having enough money to enjoy stress, less stress, and a stress-free life, certainly helps with happiness. My grandmother from the old country, you would say, in Europe, used to say, when there's no money, love flies out the window. And we used to laugh at that when we were kids. But if you think about that statement, when there's no money, love flies out the window, it's because you're fighting over bills, you're fighting over food, you're fighting over, and so there is some truth to,
right, because who wants to suffer and be without and be deprived of food? You want to play, and money, it gives you the ability to play and have a nice, comfortable, happy life. So I mean, with no money, why would you want to suffer? I mean, if with no money, love goes away, because most people don't want to be around somebody who's struggling. You want to be around somebody who makes life easier.
But I think I truly think that if you're with somebody that's working as hard as they can work, and maybe you don't have a lot of money, but you're working as hard as you can work and doing everything that you can. I mean, the simplest games that we played as children with rocks. I mean, we didn't have a lot of money as children growing up, and we had fun, and we didn't have all these expensive video games, and we used a piece of chalk and rocks and cans, old cans. I mean, and kick the can, and silly games that we made up, because that's what we used our imaginations, which I feel almost sad for kids today, because they don't do that. It's like their imagination is almost taken away from them. Their uniqueness is almost taken away from them. It's hard.
I disagree. I think there's very imaginative people. They just find they just find different ways to use their imagination.
Maybe different outlets. But I
think a lot of the world is becoming more digital. I mean, I know with social media, a lot of it's like, if it didn't happen on social media, it didn't even happen. Lots of stuff happens that is never put on the internet. I mean, some people have this notion that if it's not on social media, it didn't even happen. You know what I mean? But
see, for me, I feel like for me, if I could take all social media and throw it in the trash and go back to living in a cabin in the woods where you go fishing and hunting, and you go to the general store and
hunting. Do you like hunting?
Well, not like fishing, but you go to the general store and you talk to the butcher and you talk to the shoemaker, and like simple living. To me, there's an ice cream store where homemade ice cream is. We used to make homemade ice cream. We used to churn it and make it, and like, I don't know, that the joy of those simple things where everything is so fast and so furious. I don't know. I miss that. I remember as a kid going camping, and, I don't know. That's just something that people today kids and young people today don't understand, that kind of a life. Yeah. And they don't have face to face, like, and there's so much that you miss when you don't have face to face interaction. There's so much computer interaction that I feel that intimate, social reality is gone almost. And, I don't know, that's just me. And that simple living is to me something that I think people need. I think they need that, along with, yes, social media and things like that. But I still think that they need that. They need that time to go on a road trip, with their families, and, eat dinner together around a table. And
okay, well, let's get back to me and my mental health, and let's use the social media example of that. Because we're going to apply this concept to me. So growing up, I got bullied, and I didn't have friends in my childhood.
I thought we weren't going to do that. I thought our topic was.
Yeah, but I was gonna say I spent a lot of time playing video games. I spent a lot of time indoors, and I guess that must have affected my social skills too. Because if I was out there practicing, even if I got bullied, I think social development would have happened, and I would have overcome. But I think by being indoors and playing on social media and playing video games, I actually never developed socially, and that's the reason I struggle to this day, because my social skills are awful. I think people view me critically, and that's kind of something that probably is a result of spending so much time online.
Possibly. I know somebody that I'm not going to say who,
Yeah,
but I know.
definitely don't, because they can
Yeah,
sue you.
I know somebody that their family didn't believe in traditional learning, traditional, having involvement with, social, and kept everything very, closed into their family. And now the family, the children all struggle as adults, struggle significantly with trying to interact in the world, because they were kept homebound.
Right.
So you can see how that can affect anybody. Anybody, you can see how that can affect.
Right. Socialization is so healthy. It's the key to recovery.
It's the
Socialize, socialize, socialize. I mean, you could be the most brilliant person on planet Earth. You can have, you could be a genius, but if you don't know how to interact with people, you're never going to get discovered, because
True.
I have the delusional pipe dream that my social media posts are going to lead to instantaneous riches and fame. But the truth is, you need to go out into the real world. You need to, do interviews, express yourself in an intelligent kind of way. And
also, yes, also, last thing said, another very, very important thing that people don't realize: appearance is everything. If you appear, you might be the dumbest brick on the planet, but if you appear to look good to people, if you can BS people, if you wear a suit well, you can be a monkey, but people respond to appearance. It really is first impressions, and appearance is paramount.
Fake it and have confidence.
Fake it and have confidence, and people will respond to you. It just is. That is a fact. That is a fact.
Right, absolutely. Just fake it. Act like you belong. Act like you have confidence.
Act like you could be churning up inside, but walk the walk and act the part. Act like you know what you're doing. Like, there's a show that I watch. I know it's a silly show.
I know Dad used to always say that. When it came to Islander games, act like you belong. Act like you belong there.
And nobody questions you.
Nobody questions you, right? I mean,
100% right.
Because so he would act like he belonged and he was a part of the team, and just walk right into hockey games, and people wouldn't even question him. You wear like a suit because he would come from work, and you just walk in with the team, and nobody will even question you. They're like, "Oh, he belongs."
Nobody questions him. So you're 100% right. So that's why when
there was actually a con man who bought the New York Islanders. His name was John Spano. He gave everybody the impression he was like a millionaire. He had tons of assets. He had tons of money, and he was able to dupe. He was able to dupe the NHL into buying the team with no money. He basically acted like he had all this money. He acted like he had all this power. I forget exactly how he was able to forge his references, but the truth is he ended up going to jail. But he pretended as if he belonged, and he duped New York Islanders into buying the team. And the truth was he had no money. He had no assets. He's
right there. There are doctors that have done surgery on people that had no degree. So, at the end of the day, if you're a good bullshit artist, you can.
Yeah, I don't think the S word is really, but you got to be careful not to curse. I mean, you did it like a few times, and I'm trying to post this on social media, and I don't know what I'm going to post it anyway. But yeah, like I said, you just for next podcast, try to be careful not to. I think the S word is okay. I'm not entirely sure, so I'm going to leave it. But just be careful with cursing. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying. You know what I mean?
Okay, but I don't usually do social media, so that I don't have to worry about that. So, but that really truly is what it is. As far as I'm concerned, you have to walk the walk, look the part, and you will succeed at what you do.
And that is
What
art.
it
It
is.
is.